Welcome to the Friendzy.
Hi, I'm Melissa Carter.
And I'm Jenn Hobby.
The Friendzy's mission is to celebrate friendships over 40.
We believe that women thrive through authentic relationships, self-discovery, and spiritual exploration.
Our decades-long friendship continues to grow because we are willing to go there and share the truth through life's highs and lows.
That's why the Friendzy is here to hold space for women who are 40 and older, because at this age, your story matters more than ever.
I'm Melissa, and I was next to last chair as an alto sax in middle school, only because Christy Davis couldn't get a noise out of hers, which is what made her last chair. I love music, but I can't do it. No, I played drums in high school, so I can do percussion. But when it comes to notes and I was a terrible saxophone player.
What I loved is that you remembered the girl behind you
Christy
by
Davis.
first and last name.
And I'll tell you why, because she was my pediatrician's daughter. So I remembered her first name and my pediatrician's last name. So I laughed when I made a note of this because I remember Dr. Davis and her daughter, Christy. Yes, bless Christy's heart. She could.
Bless her. Bless her for being last in line. Didn't make you last in line.
But yes, she made me next to last, which wasn't as embarrassing. So thank you, Christy.
I'm Jenn Hobby, and when I was a little girl, I used to play with my belly button and suck my thumb.
At the same time?
At the same time. Isn't that the weirdest little kid thing you've ever heard of? I mean, little kids do weird stuff, but I would have to twiddle. I called it twiddling my belly button and sucking my thumb at the same time, like where my mom could not put dresses on me as a young child because I couldn't have access to my belly button.
Well, I would be afraid that you would like cup under and show everything in order to.
Yeah, so she had to do like shorts and shirts for her little girl that she just wanted to put in dresses, but I would pitch a fit because I wanted to play with my belly button. What psychological weird thing is that?
Well, it must have been very comforting. To me, my belly button feels weird if you.
It does to me too now. But apparently when I was a toddler, it was quite my little whoopee.
Your little thing. It's your thing.
Bizarre.
It's no judgment here, but no, I've never heard that before in my life. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So coming up on today's episode, we are learning about functional medicine. I mean, who knows? Maybe you were tapping into something that was maybe that was healthy for you. So what is functional medicine? How can this approach help us understand what is going on with our bodies?
You're going to meet Dr. Kristin Oja. Kristin obtained her Doctor of Nursing Practice, Masters of Science in Nursing with a family nurse practitioner focus. And she's a registered nurse. She's also an entrepreneur, functional and lifestyle medicine guru, personal trainer, group fitness instructor, and lover of everything health and wellness.
So did you know that the Friendzy now has a private Facebook group? It's a safe community to celebrate friendships over 40 and possibly make new friends too, because we know that is something that is very frustrating for a lot of women over 40. So sign up for our email newsletter, and that's the only way you'll get an invite to this private Facebook group.
And we want to say thank you so much to our listeners who have already subscribed to our email list. A couple of new shout outs for you. Patty G., Danetta Haynes, and Carrie Harwell. Thank you so much for subscribing at thefriendzy.com.
I'm sorry, Patty, with your last initial, I feel like I got to say Patty G. Anyway, if you enjoyed this week's episode of The Friendzy, please share it with a friend. We would love for more women like you to find out about the show. So, Jen, we are going to dive into our functional medicine conversation. Maybe includes belly buttons. Maybe they don't. Here in a minute. But first, let's thank our sponsors.
Kick it!
Woo! Pajamas. My cat just like, what the hell is going on? Kick it. You can get
what's going on.
You can get a 10%
kicking cancer off the planet
and dressing comfortably while doing it. 10% discount on Kick It Pajamas if you use the code Friendzy. And live. I'm going to do my, what do you call them?
Vibrato.
Yeah, and then there's the range, like whatever. Like they always do on The Voice or something.
You're getting a voice out now, Melissa Carter. You couldn't do it in band practice, but now you are.
Exactly. Well, I'm not playing an alto sax. That's the problem. So Friends without the Y is the code to use with Lifeline screening. Jen asked a great question in another episode on if it's invasive. It's not. It's just a scan. It's just a little wand they put over your vein. So it's not even, it doesn't hurt. It does nothing.
Were yours clear when you got them checked?
Mine's clear. All clear.
What if they're not? What do they do then?
They have to clean them out. That's when they have to do invasive.
I see. But just checking them.
Just
No
checking them.
props.
No
Just a
problem.
little appointment. I love that.
Lifeline screening.
LifelineScreening.com. Tell them that the Friendzy sent you. Okay, friends, we are excited to introduce you to today's guest, Dr. Kristin Oja. She is passionate about taking a personalized medicine approach. Kristin focuses on uncovering the root cause of chronic illness and disease. So she takes into account her patient's lifestyle, diet, genetics, environment, stress, and each treatment plan that she creates is unique and individualized. Kristin has been serving and caring for patients for over 10 years, and she founded STAT Wellness, which stands for Strength to Achieve Total Wellness. Gosh, wouldn't we all love that? And she helps transform medicine in this way. So please help us welcome Kristin Oja to the Friendzy.
Thank you guys so much for having me on. I am so excited to be with you guys.
Yes,
we have so much to learn from you, and I'm excited for our audience to get to know you a little bit better. So before we dive into functional medicine, I would love to find out your story. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Yeah, so interesting. I was born at Northside Hospital right here in Atlanta.
Okay.
So was my husband, and so was our daughter. So
all
three of us were born at Northside Hospital.
Cute.
And I've never moved away. We travel a ton. We love to travel, but I am an Atlanta native. And Stat Wellness is my company, and I started it back in 2019, January 2019. And my story kind of leading up to that, I've always been an entrepreneur. I started dance camps in my parents' backyard when I was 12 years old, making $400 a week. I had them take me to play it against sports. I got a gymnastics mat, a boom box. I sold recital tickets. I kept all the kids for 2 hours, and the neighbors loved it. They got to go to the grocery store, come back, and their kid got exercise. So it was great. And then I started my career as a personal trainer, and I knew I wanted to get some sort of degree, but didn't know what it was going to be. And so I ultimately went nursing. And so my bachelor's, master's, and doctorate are all in nursing. And I just found some holes in what we call our healthcare system. You know, I like to say we have some of the best sick care in the world. Our sick care is incredible. If I ever need open heart surgery, I'm so fortunate to be in the US. If I get diagnosed with cancer, we have some cutting edge treatment. But when we're really talking about healthcare, we don't have a lot of healthcare. And that's where I saw such a gap. And so I started Stat Wellness, and we're the nation's first medicine and movement practice. So we blend functional medicine with movement. And we really believe when you pair kind of the whole piece, the exercise, the mindfulness, the health coaching, the physical therapy, the dietetics, the functional medicine, you really get true wellness. And our slogan is wellness feels good.
Well, you know, it's funny you say it's right after our interview, I'm actually going to a stretch class, right? And the reason I'm going to a stretch class is because my mother, as she aged, had a real problem with her hips being so tight because she sat for so long. She was an artist and she would sit and paint. And it became a real problem and actually led to her passing, her falling and not being able to walk. And so I'm like, you know what? If she wants to teach me another lesson, it's that don't follow my path. Like, and I sit a lot for what I do. And so anyway, point being, the preventative stuff, the stuff you're talking about, the way to take care of your body when it's well is something that I think a lot of us take for granted. And you know, studying Eastern medicine, Jen and I've talked about Eastern medicine before on the show. I think for a lot of people, they're like, oh, wait a second, there's ways that I can do something to improve my health without me having to be sick in order to do it.
Yes. Yes. And you're so right. When you think about things like hip fall, like falling and breaking a hip, you don't even know maybe that strength training or getting the optimal nutrients, doing regular stretching, those things really make a difference because, you know, something like osteoporosis or osteopenia are things you don't feel. You know, a lot of these things are silent illnesses. And so prevention is key. And it's our whole slogan is little by little, a little becomes a lot. And going to the stretch class today it may seem like a small thing, but it makes such a big impact.
Mm-hmm. And it'll make you insecure. I'm just saying, like, before you get to your question, Jen, that'll make you vulnerable to go to a stretch class and just see exactly how balanced your body is. And I can tell you, I need to take many.
Well, and what's cool about doing small things is then, Melissa, you get to pick up small little things that you can do in your everyday life. You know, you don't have to do a whole class, but maybe you're stretching while you're on a phone call or on a Zoom or something like that. I think it's all those little things that add up.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So, Dr. Oja, I'm trying to figure out what is functional medicine because it's not a term we hear a ton in our culture.
Yep. Yeah. And, functional medicine, when you think about people that are certified, mine's through the Institute of Functional Medicine. Last time I checked, there was only about 1,200 providers across the nation, which is, not a lot of people. So if you've never heard of functional medicine, you are absolutely not alone. But the thing I tell people is most people that do functional medicine are conventionally medicine trained. So like I'm a family nurse practitioner. I went through the same training another family nurse practitioner would, but then I went on to get functional medicine training. And it's root cause medicine. So let's say you come into me and you have high blood pressure. Conventional medicine, they want to manage the high blood pressure. So they may start you on a pharmaceutical and they manage everybody's blood pressure the same. In functional medicine, we look at, well, why do you have high blood pressure? Because it can be different. Like your high blood pressure may be caused by sleep apnea. Your high blood pressure may be caused by magnesium deficiencies. It may be caused by high cortisol, which is your stress hormone. And so we try to understand the root cause of the issue so we can start working on that and hopefully get you off medicine or not needing medicine is ultimately our goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I it's funny you say that. Jen, I was the same way and had not heard about functional medicine, and then somehow read something, started looking it up, and to Dr. Oja's point, there's not a lot out there, and a lot of times insurance doesn't cover functional medicine, which is disturbing because it really brings up exactly what you said, that traditional medicine only looks at the symptoms. And then they get you in the door and out the door. And I don't think it's because they don't care about you or don't want to treat you. And I don't think it's these evil pharmaceutical companies like a lot of other people think. But I also think it's just that we're not willing to change the way we think about medicine.
And I think the really tough thing with that is, primary care providers are excellent, but some of them are seeing 40 patients a day. They have 15-minute blocks with each of their patients, sometimes even less. They have 2 rooms going at the same time. And it's because, you look at insurance reimbursement and what they need to make to pay their salary, cover the operating costs and all of that. And so you can't possibly uncover the root cause of somebody's gut issues in a 15-minute appointment. Like our new patients are an hour of face-to-face time, and we're going all the way back to your birth. Are you a vaginal delivery? Were you a C-section? Were you breastfed? How many antibiotics were you on? What did your diet look like growing up? What does your diet look like now? How has stress changed throughout your life? Anything traumatic happen? You can't do that in 15 minutes. And so to your point, Melissa, it's not that they don't care about you. They care about their patients, and there's phenomenal primary care providers out there. The model is just not set up to be able to take that deep dive through insurance. And so we are at Stat Wellness a cash pay practice, but our goal is to make it affordable and attainable. So we have membership-based models and we process labs through insurance to hopefully make it more attainable for people. So we do memberships that are $150 a month, but you get unlimited health coaching. You get 4 dietitian consults a year. You get 5 functional medicine visits. You get 10% off any supplements, labs processed through insurance. So we try to make it as affordable as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk to women primarily over 40. Of your patients that come to see you, what's the most common reason that brings a woman over 40 into your office?
The 2 most common things we see is autoimmune disease. Women make up 75% of autoimmune illness in the United States. So
Really?
we see
Wow.
a lot of females with autoimmune. And we really think that's because hormones play a really big role. Hormones, we see a lot of autoimmune start postpartum, major hormone dip, triggering things like Hashimoto's or rheumatoid arthritis. So men do get autoimmune too, but majority are women. So we see a lot of autoimmune. We also do a lot with hormones. So we do have some of the young 40-year-old women that are still trying to get pregnant. And so they want to take a more functional medicine approach, make sure they're keeping their egg quality as good as they possibly can. And we talk about, biological age versus chronological age. Of course, if you're 41, you're 41. I can't change that, but I can change, some of the quality of your eggs or change some of the inflammation in your body, optimize your nutrients to work on that biological age. We also see a lot of menopausal women. So when you get closer to, the average in the United States is 51 for menopause, but menopause is when it's been 1 year without a cycle. And so what happens before that? You have perimenopause, which for some women is a year and super easy. For other women, it's like 7 years, and they make it 7 months and they have another cycle and they're like, dang it. And they have to start that year again. Right.
Right.
So we do a lot with hormones. We do a lot with autoimmune. We also do a lot with gut health. We see a lot of constipation. We see a lot of reflux, and trying to understand some of the reasons behind that, and not just, taking a PPI to control their reflux.
So I have a follow-up to something you said earlier. So Jenn, if you don't mind me asking, were you a vaginal birth or C-section?
I was a vaginal birth.
Okay. So Jenn was a vaginal birth. I was a C-section. I'm just curious, what could the difference be in our health based just on that?
So what they're finding is that C-section babies can have more environmental allergies, more food sensitivities, some more gut issues. And I always say it's a correlation and not a causation.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is, and I always say, most important thing is healthy mom, healthy baby. So like if you're a C-section, I'm just happy that you were born healthy. So, I don't want any moms out there listening that had C-sections to feel bad. That's, not the,
Yeah,
not
I'm like,
the point.
I had two.
Right, right.
Not the point at all. But it
Yeah.
is interesting, to kind of have some of the knowledge. And when a baby's born in a C-section, they're born into a sterile field. So they don't go through the mom's vaginal canal where all the bacteria is.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
thinking about the bacteria on your skin and your eyes and your nose, mouth. But if you think about, okay, maybe it was a C-section, maybe they were nursed for a little bit. They get some of the bacteria on the skin from the milk. So they get some of that microbiome back in. But we look at things and say knowledge is power. So, okay, let's say you have a C-section baby and they're having a lot of colic and they're having eczema, and you're like, I don't know what's going on. Our mind in functional medicine would go, okay, well, gut health. How can we support this baby's gut health? Because they were a C-section baby. And there's so much we can do. And that's what's exciting is, it doesn't mean that you're going to have eczema or food sensitivities or food allergies, but you may just need a little extra gut support. But we know the best way to change your gut is diet. So like just eating fibrous foods and eating whole nutritious foods is going to help feed that good bacteria in your gut.
And we're learning a lot more about that because it's so Jenn. The funny thing about that is I've talked on the show. I was a C-section. I've had gut issues my whole life, and my son was a C-section, and he's got skin issues. So it's funny as you say that they're, your body is always trying to tell you something, right? It's always trying to tell you when it's out of balance, and it's not always a bad thing. Just because you have something out of balance doesn't make it a bad thing. But I appreciate the fact that you want people to look at the overall health and not just the yearly doctor visit and get a pill. Yeah.
Yes. And it's kind of empowering. It's empowering to know that your story impacts your health. And like, there are certain things we can do. It's empowering to know like, okay, I have people that were vaginal births and breastfed, but then they had 12 ear infections before the age of 4, and they were on 12 antibiotics. So obviously that's going to really mess up that gut microbiome too. So that's super significant. So how can we look at, again, maybe doing a stool analysis and seeing what your microbiome looks like, so we actually know rather than guess.
Mm-hmm.
And do you recommend doing that for adults and children?
Yeah. So we work with primarily adults. We are functional. We're all family medicine. So we can work with children, but we don't do vaccines in office. We don't. So we basically work as a consultant with pediatrics. So we're 95% adults. And so we go back to their health history. If they were C-sections, maybe weren't breastfed, on tons of antibiotics, struggling with gut issues, the first thing I'm going to think to do is a stool test versus like a food sensitivity, because they have some of these variables that may impact their gut microbiome.
Fascinating. Oh my gosh, I'm learning so much. This is just
Science
incredible.
is cool.
Yeah, it really is. And like you said, empowering. So some of the things that Melissa and I have talked about on the show is women really taking that extra time to prioritize their health and wellness. And it's not something that we really had to do as much in our 20s and our 30s, but as you reach your 40s and your 50s, you really have to put that at the top of your to-do list. So what would be some of the things that you would advise women to adjust to make their healthcare a priority?
So I think there's a few things. The first thing that I talk with everybody about is really just even checking in on how you actually feel. So many people we're so busy. We're running from one thing to another. We really normalize symptoms. We really say like, I'm exhausted every day at 3. Like I have to have 2 cups of coffee, but that's normal, right? I really encourage all of our listeners to sit back and say, like, how are you actually feeling? How's your energy? How's your mental clarity? How's your mood? How's your temper? How's your digestion? So I think really evaluating and kind of being true with yourself is really important. And then the other thing is just remember, especially in the busyness, whatever phase of your life you're in, if you've got kids, you've got a career, you're hopping from one thing to another, what are small things you can do? And that's, again, what we preach is little by little, a little becomes a lot. Maybe you look at your life and you're like, you know what? I don't eat any vegetables, like, at all. Like, my plate is white and brown every time I eat. That's what I like to eat. Maybe the first thing is just starting to see, how can I get a little bit more plants in my diet? How can I get a little bit more veggies? Maybe it's starting by throwing them in a smoothie and drinking that in the morning. Maybe just thinking like, I really sit all day long. I have a commute to work. I sit at work. I come home. I get the kids to bed. I sit and watch TV shows, and then I lay down and go to bed. Maybe it's looking at, how can I add small movement snacks throughout the day? How could I maybe get up and do some squats? How could I maybe use a bathroom that's further away? How could I take the stairs a little bit more throughout the day? These small things, I always tell people, I don't want what we tell you to do to feel like your world is like shattered. And sometimes there are big things that happen. Let's say you were diagnosed with Hashimoto's and we find out you have a huge gluten sensitivity. That can feel very kind of daunting to give up gluten, right? So there are things like that that can be much tougher. But in general, we really want to figure out small things you can do to really prioritize your health. And I think it starts by checking in. And then I think it starts at looking at, what does your current lifestyle look like? We probably all know we could eat a little bit more vegetables. We could exercise a little bit more. We could go to bed a little bit earlier, but kind of look at that. And where do you feel like you're maybe not doing the best? What's a good starting point? And what's like one or two simple things you could do to start working on that?
Well, I am a kidney transplant recipient, and so again, I've told Jim before, I don't think it's a coincidence that I've had gut issues and then ended up losing my kidney. But I'm much healthier as an adult than I ever was as a child. I was a little runty growing up,
Oh,
but I
Oh.
was. But in my time, as an adult and speaking to people about health, when transplant recipients or people who have kidney issues, I noticed this, and a lot of women are the ones affected, that there was a distrust with the medical community. Part of my purpose with the organizations I worked with was to try to encourage them to make sure they stayed on top of their health so they didn't have to have a transplant like me. And it was mostly people that had high blood pressure and diabetes. And so how do you handle people, or what do you say to people who may be listening and go, you know what, I've had a bad experience with doctors, I've had a bad experience with medicine, and I just don't trust that they have my best interest at heart. They just want to get to my pocketbook.
Yeah, I think that's something you hear a lot in medicine in general. And I think the number one thing is like, you want to find somebody that you trust and you feel like is on your same court. It's really important to build that rapport and feel comfortable. So I always tell people, if you don't trust who you're seeing, like, there's no point in going, because even if they make a recommendation, you're not going to do it, right? You don't trust them. So I do think it's important to have a healthcare team. And I do think it's important to find people you trust. And I think part of that can be just, reaching out and interviewing people and seeing, who do you connect with? Who do you vibe with? I also think, like, when you get a little bit outside the box, and I know, functional medicine being cash pay, not everybody can experience that. But when you come into stat, like, it's a gym, it's medicine and movement. It doesn't feel medical. Most people will come to us to get their blood work drawn because they get to sit in recliners with essential oil, and they're not sitting in like a sterile lab,
Amen, sister. Yes.
So,
I like this.
Yeah, our goal is like, we want to partner with you. I think part of the time people feel like they don't have trust is when there's this big dictatorship and they feel like they can't be open and share how they're feeling. And I think that's really difficult as a patient to feel. And I've had these similar experiences in the healthcare system, even with my knowledge going in and being like, I didn't feel comfortable to speak up. I didn't feel comfortable to say something didn't feel right, or I didn't feel comfortable to say I didn't want to do that. Is there any alternatives? And that is not a good feeling. So we want every one of our patients to be able to tell us, like, I want you comfortable with the plan. How do you feel with these 3 goals? Do you feel like they're attainable? Do you feel like they're going to work within your lifestyle? If not, like, I'm your cheerleader. This is not me here to like tell you something to do that you're not ready for. And I think that's where our line of work, we have that time to do that, is different. So for any of the listeners that feel like they don't trust the medical space, there's somebody in medicine that I know you'll trust. It just sometimes takes you being an advocate and you kind of putting yourself out there, even if it is interviewing and finding the right fit, but you need to feel comfortable and you have to trust who you're going to, or you'll second guess every single thing they're telling you.
Yeah, I've had several people. Usually it's a weight thing. Usually it's a dictatorship, weight, insensitivity, that the way they've communicated to these women about their bodies has been awkward and uncomfortable. And so, and what I'm hearing is you say, don't give up. Just because you had one or two bad experiences or somebody was rude to you, don't give up.
And ask, like, I know that we get shouted out constantly. People go in Facebook groups and like, anybody had a great experience with an endocrinologist, anybody had a great experience with a primary care, and get referrals from people. Like, I think that's like a big thing that's grown our business, is just somebody writing on there, like, go see Kristin or go see Kyle. And it's because, you know, people sharing that trust that they believed in their provider is the best. That's the best referral. It's not reading reviews online. It's not trying to see who has the best stars. It's like that personal experience that I think makes a big difference. And I had an experience when I went in, and at the time I was running marathons, and I obviously know a lot about nutrition. So I was eating a very clean diet, and I was struggling with hormonal imbalances, and I was on the spectrum for polycystic ovarian syndrome. And I went in and I wanted to have a conversation with this GYN. And he told me I needed to exercise more, but never asked what my exercise looked like. And
Wow.
that was he was like, you just need to exercise more. I ran 20 miles on Saturday, and I saw him on Tuesday, and he's telling me I need to exercise more. That's very discouraging. And you don't even ask, how am I currently exercising, to evaluate that? And then he said, have you heard of a thing called MyFitnessPal? And I literally thought I was going to jump out of my chair. That's a calorie counter that you log your food in. And so he's telling me to exercise more and log my food I'm eating. And that's very discouraging for people that are, you know, eating healthy and exercising. It's not always as simple as eat less and exercise more. It's actually normally not that simple. And so, you know, that's a very frustrating, detrusting place. And, you know, that's also where I think a lot of eating disorders come from, overtraining, because I could have left that room and been like, running a marathon's not enough. I now need to do 2 a days. I need to strength train in the morning and run in the afternoon. You know, that's so very, very heartbreaking. And so I'm sorry for any listeners that have had similar experiences, but there are really great healthcare providers out there.
Dr. Oja, I wanted to know about stress management, because women carry a lot. Clearly, you're an entrepreneur, a doctor, you know, you're running a business. I can see the baby swing in the background.
Like,
so I'm
cool.
like,
I didn't have one
I'm
of those.
guessing she's a parent,
Yeah.
you know. And so you're wearing a lot of hats. You're carrying a lot of stress around. What are your best tips for stress management?
Yeah. So for me, I think what stress management looks like changes based on the season. So if you're at a point, you're an empty nester, and, you know, your demands right now are work and your husband or spouse, you know, that's going to look different. You may be able to do more for stress management. You may be able to go for daily walks. You may be able to take Epsom salt baths every night. You may be able to do deep breathing throughout the day. Like, it may look different. And so I always tell people, if you're at a place where it's like a 30-minute deep breathing meditation, how can I fit that into my life? There is so much you can do in small, like a few seconds. So for me, stress management changes based on the season of life I'm in. But I think stress management, when we think of stress, it's a perception, right? So you have to perceive something in your mind as stressful to have the physical implications.
Right.
If you don't perceive it as stressful, it's not going to physically affect you. And I find that to be amazing. You know, stress is subjective. So the first thing is like, how can we start working on our perception of stress? And so for me, it's a really simple exercise. I know this doesn't work for everybody, but when I'm feeling really overwhelmed and stressed, I take a journal and I write out everything that's stressing me out. And then I look at the list and I draw a line through all the things that are outside of my control. Like, I can't control COVID. I can't control politics. I draw a line through all of those. And then, you know, there's usually like 1 or 2 things that maybe like, I am so stressed about drop off and pick up with my infant. I'm so stressed about the grocery store. I can circle those. What are the things I can do to help with that? I can do Instacart. I'm going to shop on Sunday for my Instacart. I'm going to do my groceries then. I'm not even going to worry about going to the grocery store. You know, maybe it's like, it's worth the money to hire a nanny to help with drop off and pick up. Like, that for me would deload a lot of stress on my body and make a huge impact in my quality of life. That financially is worth it for me. So like, I look at it, that's like one of the things I do. The other things that I do every morning and every night before I go to bed and when I wake up in the morning is I do slow, deep breathing, but I only do 4 deep breaths and I breathe in for 4 seconds. I hold my breath for anywhere from like 4 to 6 seconds. And then I slowly exhale for like 7 to 8 seconds. And I do 4 rounds of those. And that just kind of helps ground me and helps with my cortisol levels in the morning and before I go to bed.
Okay, one more time, because our listeners can do this right now while they're listening to you explain it, because whether you're driving or walking or anywhere, you can breathe. Okay.
Yes.
One more time.
So the biggest thing when you're doing deep breathing is you want to exhale longer than you inhale, whatever that count looks like. So there's common ones like 4, 7, 8. So you want to breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds and hold your breath for anywhere from, 6, 7 seconds, as long as you can. And then you want to slowly exhale through your mouth for 8 seconds. And that slow exhale activates that parasympathetic system. So it could look different. And I always tell people, don't force a second count that doesn't feel right. You may be like 4, 5, 6. You may breathe in for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 5, slowly exhale for 6. And that may be your count. You may be somebody that breathes in for 5 seconds, you hold your breath for 8 seconds, and you slowly exhale for 10. You would be having a really great breathing pattern if you could do that, but it varies from person to person. But anytime you slow down your breathing, and I tell people, if you're in a stressful meeting, nobody knows if you sit back and are just slowing down your breathing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We're shallow breathers. So that is like, in a car, if you're at a red light, if you're at a stop sign, instead of getting mad about the wait and traffic, just take some deep breaths and just like really slow down. And that helps with the physical stress and the demands on your body. So I think that's also really important. And, I think also it's communication, depending if you're a single person, if you have a family, I think communicating with what's going on in your life. For us, it's really important that my husband and I meet on Sunday and we talk about what's going on that week, who has big meetings on what day. If he's aware that I have something big going on, he may be like, I'm going to put Emery to bed tonight. You like focus on that. If I know he has something. So teamwork, I think, is really key. And then I also think it's really important. This is something I always wanted to write a book on this, because when I first started practicing and I met with women, specifically women that were moms, I'm sure this is true for everybody, but in my experience, it was moms. I would ask them, well, what do you enjoy doing? And I am not kidding. The majority of my women could not tell me what they enjoyed doing. They were like, huh. Let me think. And they were like, well, my kid loves to go to the parks. We do that on Saturday. My husband loves pizza nights. We go Friday. And they're naming what their whole family enjoys doing. And I was like, I didn't ask what they enjoy doing. Like, what do you enjoy doing? And I think, like, as we think about stress management, it's really important in every phase of your life not to lose who you are, and making sure whatever it is that you used to enjoy, you currently enjoy, you fit it on a weekly basis. If it is like, I have people that they love podcasts, here we are in a podcast, and they're like, I honestly, like, I get so much out of podcasts. I feel so energized, so fulfilled, ready to go. Well, I hope you're going, maybe it's going for a walk and leaving your family and listening to a podcast at least once a week. I'd love it to be more, but fit it in. Maybe it's that one friend that you meet with for tea and you're like, every time I leave her, I feel so much better. Like, she is just like such a great friend. Set up time. Make sure you're meeting them once a week, hanging out. If you can't meet in person, talk over the phone. Those things are really important. Maybe it's dance was always a big part of your life. I have some people that are like, I used to love to dance, but I haven't done it in 10 years. Well, here's some studios. Go try a dance class and see how it feels. And they're like, Kristin, I loved it. Like, I felt so stressed, like stress was leaving my body as I was dancing. So I think it's never too late to kind of refigure out what you're interested in, but it needs to be something that's not your job and not your kids and not your partner. It needs to be something that's specifically for you, and you need to prioritize it. I think it's really important.
Well, I think that it goes with our message here at the Friendzy with women that, you're so used to, whether you do it by habit or you were trained to do it to serve others, and you have permission to do it for yourself. You're the CEO of your life, right? And so instead of waiting on somebody else to do something for you, I think a lot of women wait on their husbands to provide them that stress-free something and then get mad at them when they don't give it and the husband had no idea they were supposed to do that,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
So
why aren't you reading my mind?
exactly. And so I think that women have to it's a reprogramming. I mean, not to repeat the word, but we have to tell ourselves, wait a second, I'm in charge. I'm in charge. And I'm in
Yes.
charge of me. And so I think that is something that so many of us, I'm with you. I was like, what do I like to do?
I know. I was thinking the same thing. I know we're
Yeah.
all in that same boat.
I'm telling you, I maybe had one or two women that immediately could say something. Like it was, and I realized it's a big problem. And then
Yeah.
like some of the things they did enjoy, now they feel like they have to do it. So like they used to enjoy working out, but now it's like on their to-do list and it becomes more of a stressor. And so it's not a de-stressor for them to hit their 6 a.m. gym classes. It's so very important.
Mm-hmm.
So good. Okay, so learn more about Dr. Oja at statwellness.com. Also, you can follow her on Instagram at Dr. Kristin Oja, and that's Kristin with an I-N, and also at your website as well.
Yes. Yeah, I would love for you guys to follow.
Awesome. Okay, so before we let you go, we ask each one of our guests the Friendzy 5. These are just quick, rapid-fire questions. You ready?
I'm ready.
Don't be scared. I have a feeling that Dr. Oja is a very zen person anyway, because she's the one that just told us about de-stressing. So
I know.
Yeah.
I don't think you can shake her.
Yeah, I don't get stressed quickly.
And these are fun. Okay, number 1, where is your cozy, happy place?
Ooh, my bed.
Yes. Number 2, what's your favorite framed thing in your home?
A picture of my husband and I getting married. And he smashed cake on my face.
Oh, yay!
And he's trying to give me a hug and telling me it's okay. And I have a big piece of cake on my nose.
That's great.
Cute. Number 3, what's your most memorable birthday?
Ooh, can it be the day my daughter was born? That was a birthday.
Yes, we had another guest that just did that. And it's like, oh, that's such a sweet answer.
I really don't love my birthday, but her birthday was the best
Dr.
day.
Oja. Now, anyway, continue, Jenn. We'll have to talk.
I was going to say, why don't you love your birthday?
Yes.
I don't know. I like to celebrate other people. I'm like, I don't need
Dr.
gifts.
We
I
just
don't need
talked about
celebration.
this.
Well, I celebrate myself in other ways all the time, but not a special day I was born. I like other people to celebrate their birthdays. It's a weird day to me. Why are we celebrating my birth?
Because you are a special human being. Oh, okay, Dr. Oja. I'm glad we have a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
We can help you with something, and you can help us with something.
All right, this year I'll embrace my birthday.
This will be the most memorable one this year. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Good.
Number 4, what's a daily routine or ritual you stick to?
Oh, well, I already told you guys about my deep breathing.
Mm-hmm.
The other big thing is I'm a huge water drinker. I'm sure you guys probably hear this quite a bit, but like when I first wake up after I do my deep breathing, I drink actually 32 ounces of water. I fill this guy up and I drink that as the first thing I do every morning. And it offers me so much mental clarity before a coffee or anything. So that is something I do every single day outside of my deep breathing. That makes a huge difference.
I did not expect a mason jar. That's very Southern. If you were on YouTube or not on YouTube, it wasn't a water bottle. It was a mason jar. And I was like,
I love
well,
it 'cause
absolutely.
It's glass.
Yes.
You can throw electrolytes in there and shake it up. It's great. It's
I don't
useful.
know many doctors in Detroit that would have pulled up a mason jar.
Probably not.
And last one, number 5, what fashion trend did you jump on?
Ooh, now actively or previously?
Anytime.
I kind of rebelled fashion trends. I'm trying to think. I made my own clothes in high school. It was the things I wore were very interesting. I did get into, and I don't know if you guys would know this trend, but there was a moment when Kelly Clarkson brought in the vest, the buttoned vest. And so I used to wear the white shirt with the vest on top of it.
The vest on top. I remember
I remember
that.
that.
Yeah, that was something I got into. I really liked that look for a little while.
That's a great one. We have not heard that yet. I love that. Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm going to bring it back.
Well, thank you so much for your generosity and your time today. I have already learned so much. I'm going to get myself a mason jar right now
Right,
and put it
right.
on my nightstand. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for having
All
me
right,
on.
let's
This
grab a quick question from You Don't Know My Life. A great game. We have some listeners, didn't you say, that use this for like staff meetings and icebreakers? And so here's another one you can steal. And it is, what is something you've put on the outside of your fridge that makes you smile?
Oh, so fun. I have
That's a
a
great question.
million magnets and my kids' artwork on my fridge, but it's actually not my fridge. It's my freezer because I have a fridge that doesn't have the magnetizing.
Oh, you
Yeah,
have a
they
stainless
changed.
steel? Is it
Yeah,
stainless
I
steel?
guess they changed up refrigerators a while back, so not all of them have the magnet stick, but my freezer, it's a separate freezer, and that one does. So it's covered in kids' drawings, pictures of my family, and really cute magnets.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
know I'm gonna have to get a freezer at some point because if my son is as tall as they think and he has all his tall guy friends come over, then there's gonna be a lot of meat in that thing. Sorry to the vegetarians out there. So I have a fridge that actually can use magnets, so I have a lot of magnets, but there's one in particular that makes me laugh every time I look at it, and so when my son was in preschool, his school had called a fun run. And so basically it was for the young kids to have a race around the parking lot of the school as a fundraiser. And so it is a picture, an action shot from the start of the race. And so
Cute.
all these kids are smiling, they're getting ready to run, and this is fun. And then there's Mr. Carter. His eyebrows are like intense. His eyes are intense. His fists are like fully formed. And he's determined he's going to win that race. So it's hilarious. And he did end up ruining that race, by the way, but it was hilarious to see. He was totally different. He is uber competitive. And so I had to get a shot of that and I got it as a fridge magnet and it's on my fridge. And I every time I look
So
at it, I'm like, there's my
cute.
boy. He's gonna win this damn race. And he did win it. And I mean, and I always have to, I'm the one that always has to tell him, you know, games are supposed to be fun. Races are supposed to be
Yeah.
fun. Things are supposed to be fun. Like, don't forget to have fun. But he truly is. He is a competitive spirit. So he's gonna he's gonna be somebody I'm gonna have to kind of shake up a little bit and not be so tense about these things.
That picture encapsulated that
Oh my gosh.
intensity.
And he's 4 years. I mean, like I think he's 4 years old in this picture. And it's
So great.
and you think he's trying to get the gold medal at the Olympics. I mean, dude is focused.
So great. That reminds me of one of my favorite pictures of my kids is when we went to go meet Santa.
Uh-huh.
And this was not when Reese was a newborn, but the following year. She was about one and change, maybe like 15 months old. And we went to go see Santa Claus. And this picture is of Lauren, who at that stage, she's 2.5 years older. So she was what, 4? And she is sitting like a perfect angel in her adorable Christmas dress on one side of Santa's lap, and her legs are crossed at the ankles with her patent leather little shoes. And she
Hey.
has her hands, even like holding hands. And she's just idyllically, angelically looking at the camera and smiling to mommy. Meanwhile, on the other leg, Reese is screaming bloody murder and reaching out for me like, "Mom!" with the most terrified look on her face.
Hilarious.
It's one of my favorite pictures because how opposite they are. It's like Lauren
Right.
going, "Look at me, mom. I'm going to be perfect."
And
While Reese is like, "Get me out of here. Who is this strange guy?"
so let me ask a question. Okay. So here a few years later, are they any different than that picture? I
Nope,
mean, are they
exactly the
exactly that is the personalities,
That's their
exactly.
personalities encapsulated in a moment.
I have a friend who, doesn't have children, and Mr. Carter's really her only experience with children because she, like me, was the baby of the family. He's really my only experience with children because if you're the youngest, you don't raise other siblings, right?
Right, yeah.
And so she's like, "I never understood that they came as they are." And I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
the parents don't create these children. They're just trying to corral these children, right? And
They
so
pass
anyway,
through us. We
yes.
don't make them.
No, and so, yes, she's been fascinated. She's like, she's older than me, so she's like, "I just hope I live long enough to know what Mr. Carter does for a living because I wanna see what this personality turns into." And I'm like, "Me too. I hope to live long
Me
enough to know what he
too.
does for a living."
I know. That's why we gotta get our lifeline screenings.
That's right, exactly.
So we can live this long, right?
Exactly, don't forget your veins.
All right, Melissa Carter has this week's mirror mantra.
I think during this time, it has been, we've had the opportunity to be very selfish. And I don't think being selfish is always a bad thing. I think, we talk about self healing, we talk about, different types of medicine, functional medicine. What can you do for yourself? Because the idea, again, the oxygen mask on the plane, you help yourself, then you can serve others, right? But don't forget about serving others. And don't forget that, especially during this time, that just something funny or kind can really make a difference in somebody else's life, even though it may seem simple and small to you. So the mantra for today is, I am on my way to make someone's day. It's
Oh,
that simple.
that's so good. I love it. One more time.
I am on my way to make someone's day. And that's what I challenge you to do this week, is to just know that that's your job, and not to forget that yes, we need to take care of ourselves and heal ourselves during this time, but other people really need the emotional support and are probably afraid to tell you how depressed or how concerned or how lonely they feel right now.
Oh my gosh. Brilliant. Brilliant. I love it so much. Okay, friends, check out our Friendzy YouTube channel with videos and extended interviews. If you subscribe to the Friendzy YouTube channel, then we'll get a little bit closer to getting that vanity link of youtube.com/thefrenzy. Right
We're
now,
going back to being selfish now.
Right
We're going
now.
back to-
Exactly. Just, you know what? You can make our day by hitting that subscribe button on YouTube.
That's right. And also you can follow the Friendzy on Instagram. It's the Friendzy with a ZY, friend with a ZY, but it's the Friendzy on Instagram. And if you want to share about us, just tag us and we can repost to thank you.
Please sign up for our weekly email list. We're going to send the episode right to your inbox. We include links to things we discuss, give you some deeper insights into the topics. So sign up at thefrenzy.com today.
The Friendzy is hosted by the dynamic duo of Melissa Carter and Jenn Hobby.
Booyah. And sound editing by the bodacious Bo Johnson.
Okay, Bobo. Original soundtrack produced by Tammy Hurt for Placement Music, Tam Tam. Written and recorded by Mark Daniels, MD.
The Friendzy. The Friendzy celebrates friendships over 40. So thank you so much for spending your time with us. We know there are a lot of demands on your time. So the fact that you are listening to me and Melissa today really makes our day. Thank you so much for your friendship.
Absolutely. So until next week, trust your gut.
Share your story.
And stop lying about
your age. Celebrate it, girl.
That's right.